All right, cool. Hey everyone. Welcome back to Coalesce Las Vegas. My name is Grace Goheen, and for those of you I haven't met yet, I am the product manager at DBT Labs, focused on building new language features into DBT Core. And recently I also just started working on the local development experience in the VS Code extension. Okay, so today's presentation, we're going to be focused on what's new in the DBT language across both our engines, so Core and Fusion. If anyone was here last year for Vegas, Coalesce, I was really drawing on the city of Las Vegas for the themes for my Coalesce talk. So in our community keynote last year, we had Jaffle Enterprises starting a circus troupe called Cirque du Jaffle, if anyone remembers this. And in my product breakout session last year, we staged a vow renewal wedding ceremony where we had a special guest, Elvis, coming in. Now, I got some feedback last year from DBT Labs employees, namely Brandon, the president of DBT Labs, that he didn't really understand the connection between weddings and circuses and Vegas. When Brandon thinks about Vegas, he thinks about restaurants, casinos, sport teams, and whatever. Now, my friend and colleague Ruben already did restaurants last year, and I'm not old enough to go to the casino. So this year's talk theme came down to two options. I could do sport teams or whatever. I have to be honest, I was really struggling to be inspired by whatever, but also I'm a theater kid, so I really don't know anything about sports. But then I started to think more about it and talk with my team about it, and suddenly the metaphor of it all became really clear, right? Sports. We've got baseball, basketball, hockey. These are some examples of sports. In all of them, you're on a team, right? You got your role to play, and you're pushing yourself to the best of your abilities. There's always a goal, yeah? And there's rules, right? And we all agree that those rules are the rules. Classic rules like 2 strikes, you're out, and pass the defender, you're offsides, couple steps, and then it's traveling, something like this, right? Okay, so if we imagine, right, analytics itself as a sport, right, your colleagues are your team. Your goal, right, is to deliver trusted business insights, and your rules are, well, there aren't really any rules. At least that's how it used to feel, right? Writing SQL in scripts, storing your business logic in dashboards, handwriting your dependencies, and scheduling it all in cron by hand. Now, in the modern era, DBT, the framework, has introduced a set of rules that really changes the game, right? Things like writing your logic in model files, but having that materialization logic be stored as configurations. Testing your logical outputs, documenting everything, and using ref to automatically create dependencies. All these rules, right? By agreeing that these are the rules, we get to recognize each other as playing the same game, practicing the same sport, and that makes us all better. If you were here for the community keynote earlier today, Jeremy and I talked about how the DBT framework is comprised of 2 pieces, right? This is the original ASCII drawing before the design team got a hold of it, where the DBT language and the DBT engine make up the DBT framework. If we extend our sports analogy here, you can think of the language as the rules of the game, and the engine as the technology that makes playing the game possible. Okay, so in preparing for this talk, I learned that the rules of baseball changed like 3 years ago. Did anyone else know about this? Is it just me? Okay, we all knew, of course. Okay, I had to write these down because I know DBT but not sports. Okay, so apparently in baseball, if you didn't know, pitchers get little clocks and walkie-talkies now. That's new. Also, the bases are bigger. And there's also a designated hitter in the National League. I still have no idea what that means. Okay, so at the time, people reacted with, whoa, you can just change the rules of the game like that. And it turns out, yeah, you really can. Here's the secret of it all, right? The rules are made up and they change over time. So when there's new technological advancements that change what's possible or shifts in cultural attitudes, it's time to revisit those rules. And now we've got shorter baseball games, more stolen bases. Because together the rules and the equipment, they help us play the game and they make it better. We all get to win when we adopt a standard set of rules. And like in baseball or really any other sport, that standard isn't perfect, but we get to go back together and change it over time. So today, if you can't tell from my costume, I'm playing the role of analytics engineer. We've got Goheen on the back here. And this presentation is going to be about the DBT language, so how the rules of the game of analytics engineering have evolved this past year. So this one's for you, Brandon, wherever you are. Okay, we're going to focus in on the language today, but before we get started, I do want to say two quick things about the engine, our sporting equipment. Number one, you can use whatever brand of baseball bat or glove to play the game, right? You don't need a specific one to play the game of baseball. Different people might actually want different things, right? Some people want bigger, faster. I don't know how gloves work, but bats work, but right, there's like different parts of the equipment that you might want. And similarly, you don't need to use DBT to do analytics engineering or data ops or whatever we're calling it now. But standardization is really important because it gives us all a consistent and familiar experience, and it's the one that we've learned. The second thing I want to say here is we can be inside baseball about it and geek out about all of this cool tech, but at the end of the day, the tech is for you. It's about making sure you have a good time playing the game together. DBT should help you get your job done, and it should also be fun. Okay. With that out of the way, it's time to play ball. Okay, so first I want to talk about the most important person in all of sports, especially in DBT. That's the referee. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so in sports, the referee is there to enforce the rules, help us play the game better. In DBT, you can think about this as the warnings or errors that maybe a little bit annoying, right? But they help ensure that your code aligns with the standard spec. Now, DBT used to not call penalties on all sorts of things, or by the time it would call a penalty, it would be way too late. But this year, we decided to be stricter about enforcing the rules of the game. So raising more flags, but also raising them earlier. That means better and more helpful refs. Now, to embody that, I've convinced all my friends to be a part of this presentation, so I'd like to welcome Jeremy Cohen to the stage as the DBT referee. Thank you. Yeah, give it up for him.
Hi, Grace.
Hey, Jeremy. Is this a new side gig for you?
Something's got to pay the bills.
Yeah. Okay, well, I know you love the rules. You love following the rules, but not everyone. There's some people out there that have been saying that DBT would be better without refs.
Do you want me on the mic, by the way?
Yeah, let's get you a mic. What would you respond to that?
Without rules,
Thank you.
without refs, there'd be chaos. Seriously, folks, the rules are there to help us play the game right, to even know that we're playing the same game. You know, warnings and errors in DBT are our way of helping you know that you're within the bounds of what's possible, or let you know when you're offsides.
Okay, so Jeremy, can you tell everyone in your experience, what makes up a good referee?
I'm so glad you asked. The 3 C's of refereeing. Clear. It's obvious what went wrong, where the bad thing happened. You know, DBT's error messages have gotten a lot better at pointing you to just the spot in your code where there's a problem, but we can keep getting better, and we're open to your feedback. Consistent. It's easy to distinguish between which things are in the DBT language, not to be the same for everyone, and which things can and should be different, because it's your custom code. So, DBT Core and Fusion now share a set of strongly typed JSON schemas that define what is officially a part of the language, generated by code in Fusion and shared by both engines. Can make the call as early as possible. See, you want to get feedback right away when something's gone wrong, rather than needing to wait for minutes later.
Previously in DBT Core, you could configure a model and set your materialization to be table. You could run that model in your warehouse, and it would build as a view That's because the real config is actually materialized. I've made this mistake many times. And you'd only really catch that after you'd built the model. That's not obvious. Ref, can you call a foul? Thank you.
This fails the 3 C's. It is not clear what went wrong here. It is not consistent. See, someone might really have their own custom config called materialization, but there's no way to distinguish this from the thing everybody wants to be writing, materialized. And we can only make the call after we already build the model.
This year in DBT, we wanted to do some changes to tighten up how refereeing works.
So in DBT Core 1.11, if you misspell a config, we are now going to give you a yellow flag.
That's a deprecation warning.
And in Fusion, it's going to be a red flag.
That's an error.
And if you're used to doing something that's now going to raise you a foul, well, there's an autofix workflow to help.
That's a tool that is built to help you resolve your warnings and errors to make sure that they align with the standard spec.
Should we show them what we mean with a little scrimmage?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, cool. So here we can see our stage players model, and it's going to have 2 unrecognized configs. So we've got materialization and contains PII, which is player identifying information for those in the know. If we use DBT Core 1.11, if we try to parse this project, we'll see a deprecation warning, right? Great. And if we switch over to Fusion, we can try to parse this project again, and this time we're going to see an error. Great. And also we can see these red squiggles to indicate the problems at hand. Okay, and then we can try running that autofix workflow to clean up this project.
So this is going to treat both materialization and contains PII as custom configurations and move them under the meta key. That may or may not be what you want.
Yeah, so in this case, I actually know that I want materialization to actually be materialized. So I can update that by moving it back under the config and perhaps spelling it correctly this time. Great, and we'll save the file here, and no squiggle in sight. Cool. That's a quick demonstration for you. Jeremy, any parting words?
Since time immemorial, refs have gotten a bad rep. You see, people think that we're no fun, that we hate imagination and creativity. I want to set the record straight.
Yeah.
I actually am fun. I love both imagination and creativity. It's not that your custom thing is specifically bad. It's about having a standard set of rules that help us all play the game. We still support solving your day-to-day problems with lots of extensibility in DBT. Macros, custom materializations, packages. So you can still do your custom fun stuff. You can get creative. Just please, do it in the dedicated spot that we've given you. Or, and don't tell anyone I'm telling you this, you can actually silence those deprecation warnings with warn error options.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. Go call some fouls. Lovely. Okay, so now that we all know the rules of the game, I want to talk about how we play it. Specifically, I want to talk about a handful of new plays that we've added to the standard this year. Now, when I say new plays, I'm not talking about something that the world has never seen before. I'm actually talking about something that people have maybe been doing for a while, but this year we decided to sit down and say, this is what that thing is, and standardize it and give it a name. Okay, so to extend my sports metaphor here, I'm going to talk a bit about a real American football play called the tush push, or the brotherly shove. Okay, who knows this one? Still people know this. Okay, if you haven't, don't worry, I also hadn't heard of this. Okay, so in the sport of American football, your goal is to get the ball into the end zone, And to do this, yeah, I see some nods. Okay, so to do this, quarterbacks have been sneaking for years, and this worked for a lot of people, and it always felt a little bit hacky. But then the head coach of the Eagles came up with this idea, right, to use his really powerful linemen to add an extra juice to the caboose, if you know what I mean. So, okay, so what happens is you get the quarterback to hold onto the ball as tightly as he possibly can, and then you find like the biggest guy on your team, right? And then you push the quarterback's rear end into the end zone, and you score, right? And other teams see this working, and some of them adopt it as well. But people weren't really sure if it was legal or not, right? So much so that some people tried to get this banned, but no dice. It became an official part of the standard. Pretty much any standard play in any sport that's now standard had to be invented at one point or the other, right? Things like the sacrifice fly, or zone defense, screen pass, pick and roll, layup, Texas wedge. Along the way, there were discussions and debates, right? Like, which approach works best? Is it better in different fields? And above all, what do we name this thing, right? Similarly, DBT had to invent all sorts of plays along the way. And this year, we added a handful of new plays to the standard. So we've got UDFs, which if you were at the keynote, you saw a little demo of, essentially a way to enable users to define and register custom functions within their warehouse. We've got sample modes, so you can run a smaller slice of your project in development or CI. We've got YAML anchors, which is a container for reusable YAML configuration blocks, and support for catalogs, so you can define your configurations for catalog write integrations one time in a single place. Now, these were all plays that you could technically do before, right, through clever hacks that got you some of the way there. But this year, we promoted them to the standard, providing out-of-the-box support to enable more people to play and to do so in a way that's best. Now, I'm sure you're all so excited to see some of these plays out on the field in action. But to do that, I want to bring a real player to the stage. Please welcome Quigley, one of the engineers on the DBT core team. Let's go. We practiced that, okay.
Is it on? Hey, Grace.
Hey, Quigley. Hey, thanks for swinging by after practice.
Of course, yeah. Coach was just drilling us on the new plays.
Coach, man.
Coach, he's back there, right?
Is he shown somewhere?
Yeah. So, should we talk about them?
Yeah, you up for showing everyone some of those new plays in action?
Yeah, let's do it. I was thinking we'd start with UDFs.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, team.
Actually, can we start with sample mode, because that's how I did my slides.
You're right. I'm sorry. All right, team. The first thing we're going to talk about is sample mode.
Great.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, though, can we get some history?
Yeah, so people have been hacking together sample mode for a really long time, mostly by overriding the ref and source macros and passing variables to the command line. It's actually really cool that an approach like this can work. It proves out the extensibility of DBT. But everyone had to invent this from scratch every time, and people were doing it in slightly different ways. So some people were templating where clauses using Jinja. Other people were selecting from sources in different locations. So there wasn't like a consistent way to do this.
Why were they doing this, though? Well, it turns out that all y'all have some massive models on the field. And
Huge.
It turns out these can take a long time to run. That makes development on these slow and tedious. That's where sample mode comes into play. It changes your development on these models from a kindergartner running the 100-meter dash to an Olympic sprinter. Let's run the tape.
Great.
So say we have this model, orders, that takes approximately 10 to 13 seconds to run. And for today's purposes, we're calling that a long-running model. Now, a long-running model is really one that takes 10 minutes, 30, or an hour, but they wouldn't let me put that in the demo, something about delay of game. Now, if we're doing development on this model, we do have a quick way to validate that the model will compile and execute against the data warehouse without issue. We just use empty mode. You add the empty flag, run it, I blinked, and I missed it. It ran, but there's a problem. We didn't actually validate the data. Say I make an update and I set the customer ID to null. Technically, this is valid SQL. However, the data tests on empty won't catch this. They pass. This is a problem because now do you use empty in CI? You might let bad data through. But if you run the full model, it might take a while. That's why we have sample mode. Sample mode is event time based. So you define an event time config on your upstream models. So the models that are inputs to your model that you're creating a sample of, doing development on. And then you're going to do another build with sample mode. You specify a relative event time filter, like 3 days. It runs fast, not as fast as empty, but pretty darn quick, and we catch the issue. That's great. Now I found it, I can fix the issue, I can run it again, see that everything's working, and we're hunky-dory. This is a new way to play the game.
Awesome. Thank you, Quigley, for demoing that. This works by really injecting that event time filter into the ref or source statements, giving you a filtered look at your data. Okay, that was a cool play, but you mentioned earlier maybe you have something else to show us.
Yeah, a little bit of foul on the false start. I think
False
that's
start.
a false start.
Yeah.
Now we get to talk about UDFs. Want to give us some history on this too?
Yeah, totally. So UDFs are also something that people have been doing in DBT really since the beginning. The first way people were doing this was by injecting like create function DDL into an on-run start hook. I see some nods there, which can lead to some weird race conditions if your UDFs depend on other models that are in your DAG. Other people, like Paul Brabin, who was nominated for one of the awards today, developed like a DAG-aware approach, which was treating UDFs as models using a custom materialization. This is actually pretty elegant in simplicity. A lot of things just work here, but really models and functions are two different things, right? Models return relations, whereas functions return callables with arguments and types. And with the introduction of Fusion SQL comprehension, which we've been talking a whole lot about this week, that requires knowing about the functions in your warehouse, so it became even more important to DBT that we know about your custom functions.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right.
Yeah. So to define a UDF, you need to create two things. You need to create the SQL definition and the YAML definition. Both of these need to exist under the functions directory in your project. In front of us now, we see the SQL definition, and it's literally just the SQL logic of the function. Pretty straightforward. And then eventually we're going to move on over and look at the YAML definition. And here's where we define what the arguments are. Their names, their data types, and we also define what the function returns. And that's really all there is to defining a UDF. After that, you can run a build of the function, and I'm going to do something sneaky here, do it with a little debug, and then we're going to see, once we scroll up in the logs, the actual create statement in the data warehouse. We're going to see how those arguments are injected. We're going to see that return type, and we're going to see our logic of what the function is actually running. Mm-hmm. Now, how do we use this? Well, a quick demo would just be do an inline query, select from the function. This function was add days, so let's just add 7 days to January 1st of this year. Bada bing, bada boom.
There it is.
There it is, January 8th. We're doing good. Now, you don't want to just do this in inline queries. You can also obviously do this in models. Your functions can be anywhere now. Well, anywhere just in general. So yeah, you can add, and then we can prove that they work by doing a build. So it will show that compile is successful. We're guaranteeing that it works, and you can go back and do sample mode when you're developing your functions. And then also just to show that functions are really an important part of the spec, they're unit testable. All you have to do is unit test a model that uses the function, and you can check that the input you're putting in is giving you the correct output. And yeah, it's here. Have fun.
Awesome. So this isn't in beta right now, but Quigley, do you have anything specifically you're excited about in that epic to get through before the final release?
Yeah, there are Python models. Anybody want to do Python models? We're looking at UDAFs, UDTFs, and I was just hearing a story yesterday of somebody who really wanted to do Java UDFs, and so I'm going to see if I can get that in there.
Awesome. If you have feedback on this beta feature, we'd love to hear it. We actually are going to be doing a roundtable tomorrow, but also we're on Slack and GitHub. But send all your issues your way. We'd love to get you guys testing this out and get your feedback in.
All right, I'm going to start working on those issues. I got
Yeah,
a lot of work to do.
get back on the field. Okay, thank you, Quigley. See you in the dugout. Okay, so those were the two features that Quigley and I were most excited to demo to you today, but there's also a lot of other exciting new things as well. Specifically, I wanted to call out that if you are interested in hearing more about catalogs, iceberg, all things cross-platform, Jeremy Cohen, our referee, is going to be doing a talk on all of those things in about 2 hours from now. Back in May, when we put out our core roadmap post, we laid out 3 features that we were excited about building. UDFs being one of them, but also sources from external catalogs and model freshness checks. You just got to see UDFs in action as a beta today, but also we just want to hear from you. What are you most excited to see us build next? I do want to be so very clear. We are going to continue to evolve the game, the language of DBT, no matter which equipment you're using. And as always, it is such an honor and a privilege to get to do that work alongside all of you. After all, analytics is a team sport, and one of the best things about working on this game is this huge community of support that is backing us up, suggesting new ideas, showing off extensions, and helping us playtest new features before we roll them out widely. Now, to really embody that spirit, I'd like to welcome the DBT cheerleader to the stage, Elias Tafaria.
T.
T's like this.
T. A B, a T. DBT.
Great.
There we go.
There you go.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. For those of you who don't know Elias, Elias is a manager of product management at DBT, focused on all things Fusion. He's also one of the co-founders of SDF Labs, I don't know how to do that one. SDF Labs, which is the company that helped build the technology that is powering our new engine. He's also my boss, so he has to do this.
Yes. Hello.
Awesome.
Whoa.
Okay, Elias, could you tell everyone a little bit about how you've seen the community at work this year across core, Fusion, all of that good stuff?
Yeah, this is a good question. At SDF, we were closed source. We did not have a community to work with. So we developed a way of innovating, of building features that was largely internally driven, right? We would talk amongst each other, brainstorm, deliver a feature, and then look for feedback after it had already been launched, right? Initially, we brought this same methodology to Fusion, and it didn't really work, right? There were some configs, like static analysis, that we introduced into Fusion, for example, right? Static analysis allows you to turn off the SQL compilation features for certain models. I'm looking at Peter right here. Hi, Peter. And we got feedback after the fact that we're kind of like, what are you guys doing? You know, this is not the way we iterate on the language. We iterate on it in the open, right? And so we're now adapting our methodology of how we develop Fusion to use and work with the community way more effectively in a way that we really didn't at the beginning of the year. So that's been a huge lesson for me in how I do my product work, in large part because this company is very unique. Most companies, most product managers do not have a community like this to work with proactively before you launch a feature. So I'm very excited going forward to take those lessons into consideration when we introduce new features to Fusion, many of which I'm very excited about to think about, hey, let's do community AMAs. Let's make discussion posts on the GitHub. Let's collaborate early to make the language the best it can be.
Awesome. And do you have specific asks for this community of people for this coming year? How do you want to see them get involved?
Yeah, my ask is to be vocal, right? We have a channel in the Slack, the community Slack, called DBT-Fusion Engine, right? Peter MP here is very familiar with that channel. And a large reason why Fusion is where it is today from a developer experience standpoint is because of Peter and others chiming in with their thoughts in that channel. I now check that thing like multiple times a week, right? I love that channel. It's full of rich, awesome feedback about what users are really going through. So my ask for you all in the community, be vocal about your feedback. We are rolling out a fully new technology, a new engine with new paradigms, new approaches to how you approach your daily work. Tell us about how it goes. Yes, I can demo things and it can look cool, but ultimately, it's about how you experience those features and if they actually level up your experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Les. Okay, let's welcome everyone back up here to close it out. My boys in the back. I can take the mic. All right. I love this. Yeah, DBT. The community is really all of you guys who play the game, whatever position or role that may be, whether you're a quarterback or a goalie or a catcher, an analyst, architect, or engineer. If you're on a solo team like in golf or part of a massive team like in American football, at the end of the day, we're all playing the same sport, right? The sport of analytics engineering, the sport of DBT. And there's a really special sense of camaraderie in that. I hope you can feel that in this room. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for playing the game, for being a fan and following along, for challenging the rules and inspiring us to add new plays, and of course, for being our cheerleaders throughout this crazy season. Okay, and I have one final last thing to say. Nice hustle out there. Thanks, everyone. Okay.